Now I'll start this next story with a little short clip. Take a look.
After 1 year outside of the tour, I think it's the right moment to be back. I have been working hard and feeling much better the last couple of weeks. So I feel ready to announce that I will be back in Brisbane the first week of the season.
That's former world number one Rafael Nadal announcing his comeback in January at the Brisbane ATP event. And of course, that emotional announcement that he made on his social media platform was sure to send goosebumps down everyone's spine. Now, this is the news that just about every tennis fan was waiting for. Now, I say tennis fan and not Rafael Nadal fan because as a lover of sport, there is nothing you want more than great tennis and a rivalry that has really stood the test of time. Nadal says in that video he released just some days back that he did not want his career to end in a press conference. He did not play the sport for so long to just give in. The kind of a finish that he chooses to, and it's fitting that a year after, that is a year-long break, a long while for any sports person to stay away, the man who set the bar for perseverance and never really giving up on the court with his sheer stamina is announcing his comeback. At the hard courts that put a pause on his career. Now, much has happened, of course, in the year that Rafael Nadal stayed away from the tennis courts. Novak Djokovic has overtaken him with the most number of Grand Slam titles to his name, equaling Margaret Court for the most by any human being in tennis, 24. Carlos Alcaraz has staked his claim as Spain's new matador. Yannick Sinner from Italy has made waves in poking holes in the quests of both Alcaraz and Djokovic. With one of the biggest powerhouses of tennis missing in action, younger athletes who have shown great promise have also been jostling about to occupy the vacuum and challenge the man who sits at the helm of it all right now, Novak Djokovic. And much of this comeback announcement has undoubtedly got everyone excited to possibly seeing a Djokovic-Nadal face-off sometime very soon next year once again. But it won't be easy, and it's something Nadal himself has acknowledged. The reason Rafael Nadal had to stay away was because of a serious hip injury he had picked up during the Australian Open campaign in 2023. He underwent a surgery in June and started training only in October. And it has not been an easy road up until this point.
I have been afraid to announce things because in the end it's a year without competing and it's a hip operation. But what worries me the most is not the hip, it's everything else.
Nadal is in uncharted territory. That itself isn't new to him, but the fact that there is a fear and a lot of nerves around not the injury itself, but how he will feel and deliver, and whether he will be just as good as he was when he left the sport briefly is something that exists and it isn't lost on him.
It's been a long time, so I hope, first of all, to feel again those nerves, that illusion, those fears, those doubts. I expect from myself not to expect anything. This is the truth. To have the ability not to demand myself what I have demanded myself throughout my career. I believe I'm in a different moment, in a different situation, and in an unexplored terrain. I've internalized what I have had throughout my life, which is to demand myself the maximum. And right now what I really hope is to be able not to do that. Not to demand me the maximum. To accept that things are going to be very difficult at the beginning and to give myself the necessary time and forgive myself if things go wrong at the beginning, which is a very big possibility.
Now, what makes superstars most endearing, most real to their fans is their vulnerability of accepting the shortcomings or the challenges and really talking of their biggest fears. Nadal is surely nervous and afraid of how things will pan out once he steps onto that court. His uncle, Tony, spoke of how he did struggle initially when he got back to training again after the surgery. And with competitive tennis, it's going to be all the more difficult. The noise, how much you can push yourself, when to accelerate, and really understanding the body now more than ever is something Rafael Nadal will have to deal with, more so at this point. And then, of course, there is the challenge of the younger crop as well as his nemesis, Novak Djokovic, who, on the contrary, is reverse aging with the kind of fitness that he has displayed all the year through. The world number one has been unbeatable and more hungry than ever before to continue his reign at the top of the world. The big question, of course, is while Novak has unleashed another side, another level, and raised the bar further Even with another year having gone by, Nadal faces the tough question of how good he will feel and look coming back after his long hiatus, and whether he can get there again. He admits it's difficult, but is aware he has to trust the process.
I think I'm ready, and I trust and hope that things go well and that it gives me the opportunity to enjoy myself on the court.
That's one thing we have seen him say over and over again over the last few days, and that is what gives plenty of hope, that he wants to enjoy his tennis again. He wants the fear to transform into opportunity, the anxiousness to give way to positivity, and embracing the challenge more instead of running away from it. And running away he isn't. When was the last time you saw an athlete miss a whole year of his or her career owing to an injury to come back stronger? Indian cricketer Jasprit Bumrah is one prime example. That career-threatening back injury was horrific, but the speedster came back stronger and much more in control than he has in the past. Now, I know there is no direct comparison here and no fair comparison here, but so many women athletes have had to hit pause for several months because of pregnancies that are, as we know, far more difficult mentally, emotionally, and physically to bounce back from, and they have done so with success, like Serena Williams and Carolina Wozniacki now in tennis, and India's MC Mary Kom in boxing. It isn't impossible, but the road ahead is surely far from being an easy one, and Rafael Nadal acknowledges that. The game has progressed as it always does in his absence. It is not just his familiar foe who has developed yet another gear, but also many challengers who are eager to punch above their weight. Nadal has had his fair share of injuries owing to just the kind of tennis he plays, so rigorous and physically brutal, but this has to be his worst. And 2024 will prove to be his most challenging year yet. The biggest fear for any athlete is for the game to tell them to stop, the sport itself defeating them and telling them they just aren't good enough anymore. Nadal is aware of that fear, of his comeback, that is one of the most anticipated ones, not going to plan. And he says he's prepared mentally even if that happens. But to walk away without even trying would be far worse. That's what sport is ultimately about, to always accept a fresh challenge and attempt to scale that. If you do, it's great, and if not, that's okay too. The point is to never give up, and who has symbolized that quality in tennis more than Rafael Nadal?